Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to have you here. Now, a 22-year-old man was nearly lynched by residents of Ofinso Obofo in the Ashanti region on suspicion that he abducted two girls from the community. The severely assaulted suspect, known as Kweku Boahin, was later handed over to the police. He's alleged to have lured the 4-year-old girls into a secluded bushy area a mile away from their home. The incident comes in the wake of children going missing in the area, with one found murdered. Lava FM's Erastus Donko was in the community and reports.
Matilda and Samira, both 4 years old, are siblings. Here, in this quiet Abofo suburb, is where they live and play together. About a mile from their home is this bushy area where this elderly woman produces charcoal for sale. Around 9 a.m. Thursday, she heard the children crying inside the bush. I was packing firewood here, she says, when I heard a child crying. When I moved towards them, I saw the suspect standing in the bush with the two girls. So I asked the children, "What are you doing here in the bush?" According to her, she found the suspect standing with the children inside this undergrowth. So she's showing me the exact spot where she saw the suspect and the children standing. And this is just behind this pigsty in these bushes. They were standing right here. When I intervened, he turned his back towards me. And when I raised the alarm, he fled through the bush right here. The woman suspected foul play and raised an alarm. The suspect took to his heels but was later arrested by a mob who nearly lynched him. Other eyewitnesses say they saw the suspect with a sack. I met him here and I asked him if he was the one who was being pursued, and he said no, so I left him. By the time I found out he was the one they were chasing, he was gone. He was holding a sack and a rope. They even tied his hands with a sack when they arrested him. Police had a tough time controlling the crowd that besieged the Abofo police station. The alleged victims have since been reunited with their parents, whilst the suspect is receiving treatment at the St. Patrick Hospital of Ofinso. Now, a lot needs to be established by the police in this particular case of alleged child abduction. But clearly, this is a town, Ofinso, Abofo, Ofinso and its environs is plagued by a common threat. People disappearing, children being killed, children going missing. And so there is a heightened sense of fear amongst the people here, and people have become alert to that threat. Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Donko, Ofinso, Abofo, Ashanti region.
So Erastus joins the program for a quick update on this rather disturbing story. Hello, Erastus. When is the suspect expected in court?
Well, Benis, I just spoke to the investigators, and I'm being told that one, they need to establish certain details before they will be able to put the suspect before court. But he has since been discharged from the St. Patrick Hospital and is still in police custody, assisting in investigation. And from what I'm learning, it could be that a guy was just wrongfully accused or otherwise, because the police are looking at him telling them that indeed he went there to do something else. And the reason why he was running when an alarm was raised was because he was smoking in the bush, and he felt that he would be attacked by the people, and so he took to his heels. But he was not there to kidnap the girl or take the girls anywhere.
So Erastus, these young girls, they are 4 years of age. Have they been able to give an account of what happened? Do they say they know the man, for example? Is the police giving us information about that?
Well, the suspect has been telling the police that he knows the woman who raised the alarm. And he met the children at that place. And in fact, this story was corroborated by the people who live there, that particular place, the bush, is where the children ease themselves or attend nature's call. So many of the children come in there. And so he met them there. He bypassed them to do his own thing. But then when the woman started raising the alarm, he felt that he would be attacked. And that is why he took to his heels.
Erastus, you did mention in the outro of that story that this particular area has seen incidents of missing children, and so people are very particular with stories like this, hence the near lynching of this man. We've been trying to get a response, especially from the police, on what proactive measures. You visited the community again, or this particular area again. Do you see some sort of education going on? Do you see increased police presence?
Well, I would not say I've seen exceptional patrolling by the police, except to say the normal police patrols that they organize within the town itself. But when you speak with the people, you get that heightened sense of fear in them, to the extent that children have been educated that they do not talk to strangers. They do not respond to calls by strangers. If they get any sense that they are being taken away, they should cry and shout for help. And that is how come these two children started crying when they saw the gentleman in the bush, according to the police. And the woman also raised the alarm because she felt that something bad was going to happen in the bush there. And so when you have one child, 4 years, with her throat slit, you have another who has gone missing for more than 2 weeks now. He has not been found. Definitely the people have a certain sense of fear. And you could see that in all the places I've visited in Offenso.
Erastus, we'll leave it here. Hopefully we'll be able to get some good news about the child who is still missing in that enclave. But let's stay in the Ashanti region. Residents of Ejiso Jamasi were awakened to the stench of a decomposing body of an unidentified man who was buried in an uncompleted building. Now, this is the 5th suspected murder case to be recorded in that peri-urban community. The most recent was a 16-year-old student of Jabing Senior High School whose body was also discovered in an uncompleted building. Her death sparked attacks on a fetish priest whose house was torched after the youth in the community accused him of being behind the deaths. Oheming Terry has more in the following report.
The latest victim is yet to be identified. The monk's decomposing body was discovered several days after residents had lived with an unpleasant smell in their homes. George Chiramatin is the assemblyman for Besiansi Jamasi electoral area. Residents say they now live in fear and want the police to bring closure to investigations into already reported murder cases. They also want the local Ejiso Municipal Assembly to provide street lights in areas under development. As a first step, residents want all hands on deck as they form a neighborhood watch committee to complement the efforts of police.
Last time, by the Assam call my police for Abba, and so who will be a sorry, I will say, young volunteer, you power hat off. I'm a mother call police station. I'm a mother almost some now for 2 videos and before more. I check who they will be happy because me kind Madame for the Amuasa, so I'm a ton of Modiaco. Ubicra 12 fear. I can hide down with baby, or Mamma hide down with her, who bought Jamasi, Ubiasi Jamasi, the Kunipoa, a Kunkum say, and a Wokrumha. We can I think this is the 5th time you kumnipa okrumwa say. And maybe you be kumnipa, you be free radio for, you be free police for. On baba ya de also moye. And so still
ade a ekosoro no mantam ha nyina kanea ni ha ntu hwe kanea eni ha ubegina no odi bone a easy say obedi bone na wako mumma kanea emra ha
ade hu bia bre because every year bia no asemfo for na dey sie ni pakumu ni ade no enkoye toland was in bibinti maton ko year bia no asemfo for na dey esie nti misuro na makra ko school was me yu mu nyina fia ko fumasua ko misuro.
Police have since released the body for burial pending further investigations. From Ejuso for Joy News, Oiminteria reporting.
So our team in Kumasi is working really hard to get a response from the police service on the recent issues in that particular region. Once they do, we'll let you know what the police is saying. But this morning, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Shirley Ayokobutri, is given details on Ghana hosting the 59th session of ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government and Ghana's election to the UN Security Council. Let me take you to the Ministry of Information where the briefing is happening.
Be affected by terrorism, violent extremism, etc. He's been able to do something that has been lacking, which is sharing of information, sharing of intelligence, to be able to work together to stem this, these ills that plague us as West Africa. So all these experiences, I gave the example of what we've done. The president has done in Mali, and how we are shepherding the process towards back to democratic rule. All these are things experiences that will be useful because we can give them first-hand information so that it is not like some people sitting somewhere, some big powers sitting at the UN Security Council and handing down all kinds of solutions to problems. The solutions might not solve the problems. African problems have to be solved by Africa. So our voice there will be very important. AFCFTA, that less than 10% of our local businesses are aware. I'm surprised. I know for a fact that many of our local businesses are aware of the AFCFTA, and the Ministry of Trade, they have done a great job holding workshops from time to time for the different brackets of businesses to educate them on the AFCFTA, how they can take advantage of it. For us, this is very important because we cannot have the Secretariat here and not benefit. So they have a national office, and what they've done is to ensure that they are engaging at the very lowest level. When I say lowest level, I'm talking about even small-scale enterprises, how they can take it. Already, I know that some of our businesses are taking advantage of it because trading has actually started. But and the Ministry of Trade are very much engaged.
Minister, I think those will be the key questions.
Yeah.
We're only hoping that you would just answer the question of benefits in tree, for the benefit of the tree stations. I know your tree is excellent, so...
Let me try. I bet nego. So...
so is English.
Ehun faswo. Ghana, ya winnie bid say yebeko Security Council no so no. Ehun faswo baako ne say yen as a country uranki yen wo peacekeeping operations ye ranking number 10 the whole world. Inti bibia ebeboa na yen peacekeepers Kojo, can't you help me with this?
They are not minister.
Peace support. Otherwise, I'll just continue in English.
Okay, so you say it in English quickly. I'll sum it up in Twi for you.
Okay, so it will help us influence peacekeeping mandate instructions, also peace support operations, so that they are more effective because they affect us directly as a country. We are number 10 on the list of peacekeeping. Also, Usha says 70% of insemina echo onto the Security Council. No, in somewhere efa Ghana ho, in some to do with peace, security. Efa enya Ghana, sorry, efa Africa ho a. Ehu hia say Africa for nso ye betena table no ho na yeso ye de yadwen aba na ya kasa yeso ye kasa na yeso ya kan bi because ye na ade no fire ho inti se bibi fa wo ho a esese wo so wo ho na wo so wayiwa no na se bibi anu aka na o the solutions so aba to the issues
at stake. Mr. If you're in Kumasi, they will say Piao. I think you are done. The answer is quite clear. We'll take a very final batch. We'll take a very final batch of questions. Nancy, did I see your hand up? Okay, so Nancy, are there any takers? Colleagues, I won't come back after this round. Are there any takers?
Minister, if you ask me to speak in, can you see how
I know, right? My guy is worse than your tree. Nancy, let's take you.
Yes, my name is Nancy Vokania from TV3. We would like to know the current condition of Ghana-Russia diplomatic relations. But also, I would also want to know if the Foreign Ministry took charge or led the government's efforts to procure Sputnik V vaccines from Russia, and what the role of the ministry was in what some quarters have described as procuring overpriced vaccines. Thank you.
That'll be it for our questions this morning. Minister will wrap up on this point for us. Minister, some brief comments on this.
Thank you very much. Current condition of Ghana's relations with Russia, excellent. We have no problems whatsoever with Russia. Now, when it comes to engagements concerning, say, procurement or whatever, the first step is the Foreign Ministry engaging the embassy here, because Russia is represented by an ambassador. I had discussions with the Russian ambassador on Ghana's desire to purchase vaccines from Russia. Actually, it wasn't just Russia, but we did so with the Chinese as well, also with the Indians. Let's put it in this context, that it is difficult, extremely so, even if you have money to procure vaccines from the source. It is almost impossible. Because just as Ghana is looking for vaccines to buy, all nations are also looking for vaccines to buy. And so it becomes quite difficult to get vaccines even from the source. But I can assure you that we made contact and we still continue to pursue getting the vaccines. It has not been easy at all, not just for Ghana, but for any of our countries, and not just for Africa, but also for other countries around the world. Whether we were involved, yes, from the beginning we were involved, but I can assure you that it is difficult to procure vaccines directly from manufacturers. And I'll give you an example. The example of India. His Excellency the President actually made calls at his level. I made calls at my level. Apart from speaking to the High Commissioner, I made calls at my level. It was just impossible to get these vaccines. So that's what I can say. This is what you asked me, my involvement. But whatever decision government takes, the responsibility is all of us. So it's a collective responsibility, and it's a collective decision that was taken.
Now, that you just heard there, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Shirley Ayokobotre, answering that last question about her office's involvement in Ghana's desire to procure Sputnik V vaccines from Russia. You just had to give that answer. But earlier she was speaking about Ghana's election to the UN Security Council. Some 2 days ago, we knew that Ghana, Gabon and DR Congo were vying for 2 slots available for African countries. DR Congo withdrew later, so that left Ghana and Gabon occupying the seats for 2022 to 2023. She was briefly explaining the importance of that, indicating that most of the cases discussed at that level involve Africa. So it was just important and expedient to have these 2 African countries, though having non-permanent seats there. Away from that, this morning, the High Court was expected to hear the case filed by the Ghana Police Service seeking to stop the Fix the Country campaigners from embarking on a street protest. Now, a May street protest was scuttled as the police secured a court order. Now, this has since been set aside by the Supreme Court, but the police is pursuing this case to stop any street march, insisting it could be a COVID super spreader event. Well, that case, which was supposed to be heard today, was adjourned. Court correspondent Joseph Akable was in court for us and will briefly share the details of why the case was adjourned. Joseph. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Bennett.
Yes, can you briefly explain to us why the case, today's case, was adjourned?
And so the state, i.e. the Ghana Police Service, they have already filed their documents indicating that a group should not be allowed to protest, in that if they are allowed to protest, it could lead to the spread of COVID-19. And so the group were asked to file their documents explaining why they believe they should be allowed to go ahead with the street protest. And so that document was what they were supposed to file before today, but unfortunately, the lawyers for the group tell the court that in some circumstances, they were just able to file that this morning. And so once that was filed, the Ghana Police Service did indicate that it had even not received copies of their response yet. And so the court said that in the interest of justice and fairness for both sides, it was adjourning the matter to June 21 to allow for the Ghana Police Service to be served. And so when it comes back on June 21, both sides will have access to each side's position on the matter. Then the legal arguments can take place, after which the court may give some directions as to what should happen.
Right, we'll leave it here. Joseph Akable there giving us details of that adjournment of the case involving the Ghana Police Service and organizers of the Fix the Country protest.